Hey all, how's it going? In today's lesson, we're going to start a series of transformations in the theme. They will allow the theme users to be able to bring a new life to the theme. They will be able to make the theme a little more different when compared to another site, their competitor's website, for example, even though their competitor is using the very same theme. In order to do this, we'll learn how to create what WordPress calls sidebars, and that can also have another name such as widget areas. Basically, it's all the same. Sidebars and widget areas are the same. We'll start by creating widget areas that will be placed on the side of some pages. They'll be created here as well in the page footer, where the users will be able to insert 3 widgets according to their needs. Also, if I head over here to the shop page, we'll see how to change the look of this shop sidebar, which for now has this strange look. To get the right start, we have to first understand what is a widget area or a sidebar. We can say that they are places in the theme where the shop owners can add whatever they want. Actually, a sidebar is nothing more than a little box where we can drop some stuff. Those stuffs are what WordPress calls widgets. And widgets, so to speak, are types of plugins. So let's suppose the site owners wanted to add something here that will help them to get the visitor's email address and send them a newsletter. They can go to the WordPress plugin repository and download a widget, a plugin that does that. You certainly already know how to include widgets in WordPress. You must have done it several times before. However, widgets don't work unless there is a widget area where they can be placed. That is, first you need to have an empty box, let's say a widget area, to be able to put widgets inside. To illustrate what I'm talking about, I'm going to show you a theme here in WordPress. This one, for example. And you can see on all pages we visit, regardless of the page, look at this. We have this area here on the right. This is a widget area. And all that's inside it, popular posts, archives, categories, all of them are WordPress widgets. The same thing happens here in the footer, where you get these 3 other text widgets inside a larger area, which is the widgets area box, so to speak. You will notice during the course that we can create and place them almost anywhere in the theme, not just on the left or right side of the theme. So don't let the name sidebar fool you, because these bars don't need to be on any side of the site. They can be anywhere. I myself prefer to use the term widget areas instead. Fine, I think you'd get it all figured out. Okay, but how do I create a widget area, a sidebar, Marcelo? The first thing we're gonna do is open up the functions.php file. In the same way that we have registered our menus previously, we'll now register our sidebars. You can register multiple sidebars for a single theme. Our first one will be placed on all the pages that use the main template, the index.php file, and also on the pages that show the post content, single.php file, and on the author's page, archive.php file too. We don't have yet the HTML markup that will display these areas. First, we'll register them, and then afterwards, we worry about displaying them, okay? This time, our sidebars will be registered outside of the configuration function, okay? And why? This has to do with the action hooks we use to fire the functions. The function we're going to create to register the sidebars cannot be fired on this hook called after setup theme. Within the WordPress loading flow, this hook is too early for some features and cannot be used to register sidebars. For this, we have to use a hook that comes a little later, called widgets_init. It's like we're waiting for a bus. You simply don't take any random bus. You have to take the right one at the right time. So let's start by adding a new action. Let's pass a hook called widgets_init to this action. And let's fire a new function. Let's call this function fancy lab sidebars with underscores. Notice that this function doesn't exist yet. We need to create it further down the line. And inside it, we'll start registering our first sidebar. To do this, we'll use the register sidebar function. Inside it, let's create an array. And inside this array, we pass the arguments which I'll explain one by one. The first one is called name. This is for the title that will appear in the admin area and will help us identify the sidebar. Let's separate each array item with a comma. And in the bottom line, let's pass the second argument, which is called ID. A lot of attention because this ID has to be unique. Also, avoid using special characters here or spaces, okay? Let's consider this as a variable so we don't make mistakes. Let's call it fancy lab sidebar 1 with hyphens. The next argument is description. This argument corresponds to a short description that also appears in the admin. Okay, all the arguments we have written so far will be used in the admin when we access the appearance menu widgets option. The other arguments refer to the appearance of each widget individually on the front end. The first of this category is called before_widget. Let's just type it here and pass an empty value for now. And the next one is named after_widget. Same thing, let's pass an empty value. To understand what they're for, I need to use some visual aid. To do that, let's go back to the theme page we were looking at. If we inspect each widget on the sidebar, you'll notice that it has a well-defined structure. Each widget is inside a wrapper element, which in the case is an HTML section tag. Each section has its ID and its CSS class. We also notice here that they all have a heading tag, and all of them are H4 heading tags. Well, now we gathered important information for the other arguments we're going to use in our array. So inside before widget, we pass the HTML element that will wrap each widget in the sidebar. For that theme, we saw that a section tag was chosen. In our case, we'll pass a div with the widget wrapper class. We can be much more specific and pass a CSS ID too, or format each widget to receive an order number. We can open the functions.php file of one of the native WordPress themes, and let me show you. We can copy this piece of code here. This will format the IDs and classes of our widgets dynamically. You'll notice this later if you inspect each widget individually. So let's copy this. For the after widget, we will close the HTML div we opened earlier. And the last two arguments will be respectively before title and after title. For before title, we pass the heading tag to each widget on the sidebar. Let's pass the h4 tag with a class called widget title. And in after title, let's close the h4 tag. Okay, now we have all the necessary structure to register and use our first sidebar. Let's get back to the admin. We reload the page. And now if we hover over the appearance menu, we get the widgets option. So let's open it up. And here on the right, we see our first sidebar. Very good. As I explained to you, here we get the title and the description of our widget. Cool, don't you think? Well, that's it for this lesson. In the next one, we'll keep talking about the sidebars. We still need to learn how to place them within the theme. And that's what we're gonna do. So until then.